Hello, my name is Ruth Martinez, and I have chosen to answer question number one. How was the IMF and World Bank formed, and how does neocolonialism impact sub-Saharan Africa still today? Firstly, I think it's important to understand that neocolonialism is the practice of exerting economic rather than political control over a territory. Now, many countries in sub-Saharan Africa have a dual economy where plantations or commercial agriculture is practiced alongside traditional agricultural methods. As a result, South Africa's dual economy has created dramatic differences in its development, and income inequality emerged in the country. Other significant barriers to long-term economic development include government corruption, inefficiency, and internal exploitation. However, economic pressure was also placed on African countries through loans that banks granted in the core, called the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. The IMF and World Bank were formed because of countries experiencing economic crisis and needing to take loans. So, as a result, in 1944, following World War II, these organizations were created to promote economic stability. Another important aspect to note is SAPs, or Structural Adjustment Programs. SAPs were conditions which came with these loans that the IMF and World Bank granted. These conditions often prohibited economic growth rather than encouraging it, and neocolonialism can be seen as SAP's limiting power over countries, hindering them from making independent economic decisions. As a result of SAPs, there were cuts to public spending, decreasing wages, rising food prices, and the start of a rising market-oriented economy. The IMF and World Bank argued that these policy changes would make it easier for the countries to pay back their loans. However, as SAP policies played out, they often led to cuts in social services and public health, resulting in stagnation rather than growth, and thus a greater difficulty in paying back the loans. On the topic of neocolonialism, we can see how it currently impacts the region today in that, because of the effect of the colonial era on countries in this region, corporations based in these countries have either heavily invested in the region, purchased water rights, or purchased land directly. And as a result, many countries have that dual economy we spoke of earlier, resulting in more dramatic differences in development within South Africa's border.